Dear students, welcome to second part of descriptive questions from the chapter Control and Coordination. Let's move to the question. Here, define a reflex arc action with the help of a flowchart. Show the path of reflex action such as sneezing. So, define reflex action. What is reflex action? It is the sudden, unconscious and involuntary response to a stimulus. Sudden, unconscious, involuntary response to a stimulus is called reflex action. Now, you have to demonstrate here the sequence, the chart which shows the path of reflex action, that is sneezing. For sneezing, it should start from the receptors that are olfactory receptors, right? From the nostril. Sneezing it is. So, from the olfactory receptors, okay, olfactory receptors, the sensory nerves carry the impulses to spinal cord. So, olfactory receptors that gets stimulated by dust particles. Okay, dust particles stimulate the olfactory receptor. So here the stimulus is dust particle. Okay, dust particles get stimulated. The dust particles stimulate the olfactory receptors, and that stimulus is carried by sensory neuron. Sensory neuron carry the messages to spinal cord. In spinal cord, that is in turn connection with the sensory neuron is in connection with the interneuron. So here in spinal cord, it is in connection with the interneuron. Here, the interneuron connected with the motor neuron. Motor neuron carry the impulses back. Okay, where the interneuron situated? Here in the spinal cord. Spinal cord. So, motor neuron carry the impulses to effectors. Now, we get the sense of sneezing. We give the response of sneezing. See here, dust particles stimulate the olfactory receptors. Olfactory receptors get stimulated and the sensory neuron carry the impulses to spinal cord. There in spinal cord, it is in connection with the interneuron, or we can call it as relay neuron also. Okay, interneuron or relay neuron. From relay neuron, that impulse is carried by motor neuron and motor neuron to effectors, and we give the response of sneezing. This is what happens during the reflex action of sneezing. Now, let's see the second question. Okay, list two constituents of central nervous system or CNS, and how are these components protected from injuries? Which are the two constituents of central nervous system? There are two constituents of central nervous system. We know that is brain and spinal cord. Okay, it is brain and spinal cord. These are the two constituents of central nervous system. So, CNS has two parts, that is brain and spinal cord. And how these are protected? These are protected by, the brain is protected outside by the skull or cranium. The skull or cranium protects the brain from outside. It is the bony socket. Skull is the bony socket which protects the brain. Now, if you see spinal cord, vertebral column. Vertebral column protect the spinal cord from outside. Now, brain and spinal cord both are protected by a three-layered meninges, a three-layered tissue called meninges. So, it is meninges. Meninges is a three-layered tissue which protect the brain and the spinal cord. And in between these meninges, okay, in between these meninges, there is a fluid called a cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid that is filled in between these tissues which protect the brain and spinal cord from shocks. Okay, see the shocks, from shocks, the CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. It is cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid that protect brain and the spinal cord from shocks. So it's a three-way protection is there. Outside it is protected by, the brain is protected by skull or cranium. Spinal cord is protected by vertebral column. And both brain and spinal cord is protected by a three-layered meninges. And in between these meninges, there is a fluid called a cerebrospinal fluid which protect these from shocks. So this is the part of protection of brain and spinal cord. These are the two parts of central nervous system. Next question. Taking the example of any two animal hormones along with their gland of secretion, explain how these hormones help in growth and development and also regulate metabolism in the body. We know that the growth and development in our body is regulated by the hormone called the growth hormone, right? Growth hormone is secreted by pituitary gland, GH. The growth hormone is secreted by pituitary gland. And the other one, regulate metabolism in our body. Metabolism means the sum total of all chemical reactions that are happening in our body. For example, protein, digestion, fat, carbohydrate, all these kind of chemical reactions are all together we call metabolism. And metabolism is carried out by the hormone called thyroxine. Thyroxine is produced from thyroid gland. So see here, taking two example of any two animal hormones along with their gland of secretion, explain how these hormones help in growth and development. So first let us write growth and development. Growth and development. Okay, growth and development by GH. Growth hormone produced by pituitary gland. Which gland secretes growth hormone? Pituitary gland. The next one, regulate metabolism. Regulate metabolism. Metabolism is carried out by thyroxine. Okay, thyroxine by thyroid gland. Thyroid gland. Growth and development by GH, growth hormone by pituitary gland, regulate metabolism by thyroxine produced by thyroid gland. Let's see the next question. Name the hormone released at the gland which secretes it in human beings during scary situations. Scary situations. How does the body respond to enable it to deal with this situation? See, in scary situations, in our body, scary situations, the hormone that is secreted, that is adrenaline. Okay, so adrenaline is called the hormone of flight or fight. Okay, fight or flight hormone. So it is adrenaline secreted by, produced by the gland called adrenal gland. Adrenal gland which situated above each kidney. So we have a pair of adrenal gland, and this adrenal gland produces the hormone adrenaline which helps us to fight or flight. That means to face the scary situations. How, the next question is, how does the body respond to enable to deal with the situation? See, When adrenaline is secreted to our body, is released to the blood, what happens? It increases the breathing rate. The breathing rate. When the breathing rate increases, okay, when the breathing rate increases, more oxygen will be rushed to our body. And then the respiratory rate increases, cellular respiration got increases, blood pressure increases, breathing rate, blood pressure, heartbeat. See, all these areas that got increased and the body will be ready to face a situation, a scary situation. Now, let's see the next question. Name the gland and the hormone secreted by in scary situations in human being. List 2 responses shown by your body when this hormone is secreted to blood. See the same question only, but in different way it is asked. Name the gland and the hormone. Which gland? We already learnt it. Which gland produces the hormone? Adrenal gland. Adrenal gland produces the hormone called adrenaline. The hormone called adrenaline. The adrenal gland produces the hormone called adrenaline, which help us to face a scary situation. Okay, which are the list any two responses? List any two responses shown by our body when this hormone is secreted to our blood. See, any two responses. When it is released to our blood, the heartbeat increases. Heartbeat increases. Respiratory rate increases. Breathing rate increases. Blood pressure. Blood pressure got increases. These are the changes we can see when an adrenaline rush happens to our body. That means the adrenaline is released into our blood. Here you have to mention only two changes. Now in this given diagram, okay, here there is a diagram given. We know that it's a reflex action. Okay, it's a reflex arc or reflex action diagram you can see here. Now what you have to do? Name the parts labeled A, B and C. You have to label the parts A, B and C. Then write the function of A and C. And reflex arc have evolved in animals. Why? So you have to answer for 3 sub-questions. First, let us see the first question. Name the parts labeled A, B and C. Okay, A. Here you can see here in our hand, we have sensory receptors, right? Sensory receptors. From sensory receptors, the message is carried by the sensory neuron. So, what is A? Sensory neuron. We can label A as sensory neuron which carry impulses towards spinal cord. In spinal cord, the sensory neuron is in connection with, here you can see the sensory neuron is in connection with the interneuron or relay neuron. Here it is in connection with the relay neuron or interneuron, which connects the sensory neuron to this motor neuron. Motor neuron is the neuron which carry impulses back to effectors. So here you can see this is relay neuron, and from relay neuron, one neuron carry the impulses towards our hand, right? This neuron is called a motor neuron. What is this? Motor neuron. Motor neuron carry the impulses towards the effectors which respond to a situation, right? Where the responses happen. So, these are the 3 parts. Sensory neuron, relay neuron, also it is known as interneuron. And it's also known as mixed neuron because it performs both the function of sensory neuron and motor neurons. And here relay neuron, and The C is motor neuron which carry impulses towards the effectors. Now, the third sub-question, reflex arc have evolved in animals. Why? See, in animals, when we need a quick response, we need a reflex action. To give a quick response, we need reflex action. Because when the brain got involved, it will take time to get the action to get executed. So, when we need to perform a quick response, we need reflex action. To perform a quick response, we need reflex action. So, reflex action is evolved in animals. Next question. Distinguish between hormonal coordination in plants and animals. You have to distinguish the hormonal coordination in plants and animals. Which part of the brain responsible for all these functions? First, let us see the difference between hormonal coordination in plants and animals. If you take the difference in plants and animals, see, in plants, the hormones are called phytohormones. Okay. What the hormones are called? Phytohormones, which helps in growth and development. Okay. Growth and development. In plant, the hormones are called phytohormones, which helps in growth and development. When you take in animals, the animal hormones are responsible for many physiological functions. Okay, it's not only like growth and development, which is responsible for many physiological functions. Many physiological functions are performed by this hormones, okay, in animals. So that is the difference between plant hormones and animal hormones. Now, which part of the brain is responsible for intelligence? Intelligence is controlled by the part that is for brain, and especially the part called the cerebrum. Which part of brain? It is cerebrum. And riding a bicycle, which is balancing, right? That is cerebellum. Okay, balancing of body, that is cerebellum. Vomiting, that is an involuntary action. Involuntary actions are controlled by medulla oblongata. Controlling hunger, that is by hypothalamus. The urge of hunger, thirst and all are controlled by hypothalamus. Okay, so these are the parts which control all these functions. Intelligence by cerebrum, riding a bicycle, it's cerebellum, vomiting is by medulla, and controlling hunger by hypothalamus. Next question. What are tropic movements? Give an example of a plant hormone which inhibits growth and promotes cell division. So, what are tropic movements? The growth-related movement, plant movements, we have already discussed in previous questions. What are the two types of movements in plants? Which are the two types of movements in plants? That are tropic movements and nastic movements. One is related with the growth, and another is related with which are not related with the growth, independent of growth. That is called nastic movements. Here, tropic movements are growth-related movements. Okay, what are tropic movements? Growth-related movements. Growth-related movements are called tropic movements. Give an example of a plant hormone which inhibits growth. See, the plant hormone which inhibits growth. The plant hormone which inhibits growth is abscisic acid. Abscisic acid which inhibits growth and which promotes cell division. Cell division is by cytokinin. Okay, cell division by cytokinin. Which inhibits growth is abscisic acid, and which promotes cell division is cytokinin. These are the two hormones. And there is another sub-question in this. Explain directional movement of a tendril in pea plant in response to touch. Name the hormone responsible for this movement. Tendrilar growth. See, explain the directional movement of tendril in pea plants in response to touch. See, when tendrils touches a support, what happens means, suppose a support is here and a tendril touches a support, what happens means, here the point where the tendril touches the support, opposite to that part, the hormone called auxins will move. Okay, here there is a question like which hormone is responsible for the movement, that is auxins. Auxins are the hormones which are responsible for this kind of movement. When the tendrils touches a support, what happens means the auxins will move to the opposite side of the support, opposite side of touch. So auxins will move here. When the auxins move to the opposite side, what happens? The cell elongation. Function of auxins are cell elongation. We know that. So the cells will start elongating from this side. The cells will start elongating from this side. When the cells start elongating from the opposite side of touch, what happens? Obviously, that make a bend. The tendril will start bending towards the support, and that makes that start growing to the support, towards the support. Okay, this is what happens when the tendril touches a support. So, which hormone is responsible for tendrilar growth? That is auxins. Okay, which hormone? Auxins are responsible for the movement. When it supports the support, when it touches the support, what happens means the auxins will move to the opposite side, and that opposite side, the function of auxin is cell elongation, and the cells will start elongating from that side, and obviously it will start growing towards the support. Next question. Leaves of chumi plant begin to fold up and droop in response to a stimulus. Name the stimulus and write the cause for such a rapid movement. Is there any growth involved in the movement? Define geotropism in plants. What is meant by positive and negative geotropism? Give an example of each type. So let us see the first question. Leaves of chumi plant begin to fold up and droop in response to a stimulus. Name the stimulus and write the cause for such a rapid movement. See, the stimulus is touch. We have learned that there are two types of movements, that are growth related movement and growth independent movement. In chumi plants, what kind of movement is that? That is stimulus, that is touch. Touch is the stimulus, and with the touch, the chumi plants, what happens? It will take back water. Okay, water content from the part of where we touch. It will take back the water. So the water will backflow. Okay, we can see the backflow of water. And when the water is taken back from such part, what happens? The leaves will droop. That is why while touching chumi plants, you can see the leaves are drooping, because the water got taken back from such parts when we touch. Now, is there any growth involved in this movement? No. It is strictly growth independent movement. It is a nastic movement. It is an example for nastic movement. Now, next question is define geotropism in plants. What is meant by positive and negative geotropism? Give one example of each type. See, geotropism is growth of plant part in response to Earth's gravity. Okay, growth of plant part in response to Earth's gravity is called geotropism. There are two types of geotropism, that is positive geotropism and negative geotropism. Positive geotropism is the growth of a plant part towards Earth's gravity. Towards Earth's gravity. Towards the gravity. Okay, towards gravity is positive geotropism, and away from gravity, opposite, okay, away from gravity is negative geotropism. Away from gravity is negative geotropism. So you have to, one example of each type you have to mention here. We know that the growth of root is towards Earth's gravity. So growth of root, okay, growth of root is an example for positive geotropism. Growth of root is an example for positive geotropism. And negative geotropism, that means away from Earth's gravity, that is growth of shoot. Growth of shoot or stem, that is away from gravity, right? So negative geotropism, which is example, that is growth of shoot. Let's see the next question. Name the disorder which a person is likely to suffer from due to the following. Oversecretion of growth hormone. Growth hormone, that is GH. When the GH got increased in our body, what happens? That causes gigantism. Gigantism, the extra growth from the normal appearance, it will be overgrowth, we can see, that is gigantism. Deficiency of estrogen in females, that causes the ovulation will not occur. Ovulation will get interrupted. Okay. And less secretion of thyroxine. Less secretion of thyroxine leads to low metabolism. When low metabolism happens to our body, that causes obesity. Also name the gland that secrete each of the hormone. GH, that are secreted by pituitary gland. And deficiency of estrogen, that estrogen are released by the part, that is primary reproductive organ in female, that is ovary. And less secretion of thyroxine. Thyroxine is released by thyroid gland. And how is the timing and amount of hormone released and regulated? Explain with the help of example. That is feedback mechanism. We have explained the feedback mechanism in the previous question. So thank you.